Very good morning, dear students. We are on the second part of civics chapter 10. So, children, the topic was law and social justice, and we were talking about why certain laws are important. Fine. And making of laws and enforcement of laws. What is the benefit of that? Now, children, we will just go through the next topic, that is, what is a worker's worth? So I discussed with you in short about the Bhopal gas tragedy. Fine. So if you are to understand the events leading to Bhopal gas tragedy, what happened actually in Bhopal disaster? So we have to ask, why did Union Carbide set up its plant in India? So why the plant was set up in India? See, children, one reason was why foreign companies they come to India. The reason is cheap labor, because in India they get cheap labor. Fine. They had to pay less wage to the laborers. Wages that the companies pay to workers, say like in USA, if you say, they are very high than what they had to pay to the workers in the poor countries or the developing countries like India. For lower pay companies can get longer hours of work. For less payment, they are getting long hours of work from them. Find additional expenses such as like housing facilities, workers. That is also very few. Companies can save cost and earn higher profits. So in countries like India, fine, they are giving less facilities to the workers. So in that sense, they can earn more and more profit. Fine. Cost cutting can also be done by other more dangerous means. There are other means also of cost cutting, how they can reduce their expenses. Fine, like lower working conditions, like they will use lower safety measures in order to lessen their expenditure. Like in the UC plant, every safety device was malfunctioning and was in short supply. So if you talk about the Bhopal plant, so in that the all the whatever safety device was that was not working properly. Fine. Between 1980 and 1984, the work crew for the MIC plant was cut in half from 12 to 6 laborers. Even the working people, they were also cut, like those who were working for all this, they were cut from 12 to 6 workers. The period of safety training of workers, the work for safety training for workers, that was brought down to 6 months, from 6 months to 15 days. So just 15 days training was given, whereas it was for 6 months in real. The post of night shift workers for MIC plant was abolished. So at night time there was no worker, night shift worker working there. So you can imagine the result why this tragedy took place, just because of all this ignorance. Fine. Now see, children, read the following comparison in UC safety, which is in Bhopal and USA. If you compare, at West Virginia, USA, computerized warning and monitoring systems were in place. Fine. Whereas if you talk about Bhopal one, there they relied on the manual gauges and human senses to detect the gas leak. So there they were having, automatic systems, but here they were totally dependent on human senses, that person is going to leak the sense of the gas leakage. Fine. At the Virginia plant, emergency evacuation plans were in place but non-existent in Bhopal. So see the difference at USA and in India. Fine. So why are there such sharp differences in safety standards across countries, children? And even after the disaster happened, why was the compensation to the victims was so low. So, children, one part of the answer lies in what is perceived as the worth of Indian workers. So, if you talk about the worth, which people already say that the worth of life is there in foreign countries, here for human life there is no worth. One worker can easily replace the another. If one worker has gone, the other is going to work in place of him or her. Since there is so much unemployment that there are many workers who are willing to work in unsafe conditions in return for a wage. So people, they take their life at risk. They just check out their life at risk and they agree to work in unsafe conditions. Making use of workers' vulnerability, employers ignores safety in workplace. So this is the reason which leads to employer to ignore the safety measures at the workplace. Thus, even so, many years after Bhopal gas tragedy, there are regular reports of accidents in construction sites, mines, and factories due to callous attitude of the employer. So, if you say that after the Bhopal gas tragedy, no other tragedy took place, but still it's going on. Why? Because still the worker's worth is not identified. Fine. Now, children, the next topic is enforcement of safety laws. So, children, as the lawmaker or the enforcer, who's the one? The government. The government is supposed to ensure that safety laws are implemented. The government has to make sure. It is also the duty of government to ensure that the right to life guaranteed under Article 21 of the Constitution should not be violated. Fine. What was the government doing when there were such blatant violation of safety standards in the UC plant? If you say right to life which is guaranteed by the constitution, so what happened that time? First, the safety laws were lax in India. Second, even these weak safety laws were not enforced. So the first reason was very lenient safety laws were there, and secondly, even those lenient safety laws were also not enforced in our country. Government officials refused to recognize the plant as hazardous. They said no, the plant is not hazardous at all, and it allowed to come up in the populated locality. So it was there in a very populated locality, which it should not be there. When some municipal officials in Bhopal objected the installation of MIC production unit in 1978 was a safety violation. The position of the government was that the state needs the continued investment of the Bhopal plant which provides jobs, so that if someone rejected this, objected this, the government in answer said that the Bhopal plant is going to provide jobs to the people. So in order to um, give jobs to people, we are making this plant here. Fine. It was unthinkable, according to them, to ask UG to shift the cleaner technology and safer procedures. And even they were not saying the plant, they were not telling the plant to take some cleaner technology which they were already using, or they should go for some safety procedures. The government inspectors continue to approve the procedures in the plant, and even the government inspectors were saying yes, yes, it's fine, it's fine, and even the repeated incidents of leak from the plant made it obvious to everybody that things were seriously wrong. And again the leakage was taking place, but nobody took it seriously. Fine. This, as you know, is contrary to what the role of government lawmaking and enforcement agency should be. Instead of protecting the interest of people, their safety was disregarded by the government and by private companies. So they were not taking the citizens safety in um, consideration. They were just ignoring all this. Fine, and even the government was involved in it. Fine. This is obviously not at all desirable. With more industries being set both by local and foreign businesses in India, there is a great need of stronger laws protecting workers' rights and better enforcement of these laws. So it should not be there. The government should take care of all these things. Fine. So, children, this was all about the second module. Thank you and have a nice day.